In the world of fiction, a story needs a few things in order to be, well, a story. I guess they don't need these things, but it wouldn't be a very good story without certain aspects. With one of these aspects being characters. They are essential to pretty much any plot, because what good is a story if there isn't a character to drive the plot forward? So it only makes sense that some of these characters would resonate with people, whether it be because the character is relatable, hateable, among many other reasons. Which leads us to what this video is all about. Today, I shall be going over my top 10 favorite characters as of when I am writing this script. But before we get into the list, it would only be fair to go over some honorable mentions that sadly didn't make the cut. With those honorable mentions being some random Kingdom Hearts character, not sure really which one though, because I like a lot of the Kingdom Hearts characters a lot, but not enough to put any one of them in my top 10. King Dedede, specifically the King Dedede from Kirby Right Back At Ya. And I watched a lot of Kirby Right Back At Ya on Saturday mornings as a kid via 4Kids, and I would watch every week to see if King Dedede would ever get a monster that could clobber that there Kirby, even though he never accomplished that goal. Didn't even get his money back. Wasn't even guaranteed. I'm convinced that you could send Rabid Luigi to take out an entire army, and the army wouldn't even stand a chance. All Rabid Luigi would have to do is dive at their feet and enjoy having turbo health regen. And don't even get me started on his yo-yo attacks. At least I think he has a yo-yo. I recently played Psychonauts for the first time after telling myself that I would play the game before the sequel came out. I said this to myself when Psychonauts 2 was announced. Anyway, I don't know if Raz could make it into the top 10, but I do think Dogen stands a pretty good chance. Vanille from Final Fantasy XIII could also potentially make it on the list. Like, she's cute, but not cute enough to make up for her dialogue being written by the writer for Final Fantasy XIII. Same thing with Saz. And last but not least, for the honorable mentions is Johnny from Zack and Wiki. Pretty sure his name is Johnny. He's basically this bunny fighter pilot guy, which I like a lot because he says, "Oh my." So if you ever hear me say, "Oh my," it is indeed a reference to ya boy Johnny. With all my honorable mentions out of the way, it is time to get into the top 10, starting with number 10. Marty is a kid with the power of the Iron Fist. He's the Eon Kid. So basically, along with Kirby Right Back At Ya, I would also watch a lot of Eon Kid. Fun fact, for the 4Kids airing of the show, they renamed it to Eon Kid, even though it also aired on other American channels under the original name Iron Kid. 4Kids didn't even redub it like they normally would. The only thing they changed about their airing of the show was the name and the intro, which is cool, I guess. I'd also like to throw in the fact that this is technically the first anime I've ever watched, which is literally the coolest thing. Speaking of coolest things, Iron Kid is the coolest show. Marty will be punching dudes with his Eon Fist, sending them crashing into walls, Marty punching through walls, punching through anything that the fist hits with the power of Eon, baby! There's this one scene where a dude with a bunch of guns, known as Steeljaw Jack, guards a sword attack with one of his pistols. Then, the magazine falls out. Dang. Guards another sword attack with his other pistol. He was dual-wielding them, I forgot to add. The magazine from the other pistol falls out. What does he do to fix this problem? He kicks the second falling magazine up, spins around, holds one of his pistols up, perfectly has the magazine slide into the pistol, bang, bang, bang. Unloads the full clip. Steeljaw Jack vs. Gaff. Look it up. And if that doesn't prove Eon Kid is the coolest show, maybe the breakdance attacks will. Number 9. We've got a Sammy the Alligator classic here. He's even a part of my profile picture. Take a peek. The full version of my profile picture is even in the bottom right of this video if you're watching this on YouTube. Don't believe me? Look at the bottom right of the video. I'll give a hint to which referenced character takes the number 9 slot. It's not a semi-aquatic mammal. It's ya boy, Pain. Well, I guess this version of Pain is technically Nagato, but, Almighty, push that notion aside for now. The 6 paths of Pain is the bee's knees. And that's pretty much all I got for Pain, to be honest. He's just kind of a cool looking dude. One of the only Naruto characters to use an infinite, which is pretty neat. Anyways, on to the next entry. Number 8. Code Geass is one of, if not my favorite animes of all time. Tied with maybe Fooly Cooly, Orion Kid. But similar to my issue with Kingdom Hearts, I like a lot of the characters, but I wouldn't necessarily call any of them my favorite. I think they are all pretty cool equally. Like, I could go with the main man Lelouch, Mr. Britannia himself, Suzaku, Colin, that one dude, but I digress. I'm not able to pick a favorite for top 10 ranking reasons, so I'll just go with Orange Boy as my total fave. Number 7. I made sure not to include any characters in the top 10 that are cute and nothing else. That's why Vanille only made it into the honorable mentions. Same with Saz. But Launch from Dragon Ball makes me smile, so she gets to be here. Although I do also like Launch as a character, so that's a plus. Side note, I am so mad that there are no good figures of Launch that both look good and won't bankrupt me on a bad day. Like, all the cheaper ones look really scuffed in at least one way. Although there is a decent looking one that came out recently under the SH Figure Arts line, which are usually expensive. But I may put down a lot of extra dollars for it because Launch makes me do a semicolon and parentheses. Number 6. It's almost inevitable that a Sonic character would be on this list somewhere. And much like Code Geass, I didn't want this to be my top 10 favorite Sonic characters, even though I may do that at some point. But the question still remains, which Sonic is my favorite Sonic? There are plenty of candidates. You got characters like Knuckles or Vector that I like a lot, which contrasts with some of my other favorites like Cream or just Chao's in general. So after a lot of thought on top of my usual designated Sonic thinking time, I have come to a conclusion. That to some may even be unexpected, but I think my favorite Sonic character might honestly be Rouge. No joke! And it's not even for the degenerate reason either, she's just kinda cool. I always appreciate whenever she shows up because she always seems to move the plot forward in a cool way. Like, to all you Sonic heads out there, think about it. The story always starts revving up whenever Rouge gets involved. The expert jewel thief does not play games. Number 5. Guts. That's all, no jokes this time. Guts is a great character. He would probably be even higher, but I've only read up to the end of volume 15, so I'm not too familiar with Guts in his adult years, but Guts is an excellently written character by an excellent writer. Number 4. Now, this next one may seem like a joke, but I swear it's not. I'm being 100 right now. Number 4 goes to Augumon. Not necessarily the one from Digimon Adventure, more of just Augumon in general, but Digimon Adventure Augumon is probably up there in my favorite Augumon. Digimon are cool, Digivolution is rad, and War Greymon is an absolute unit. I mean, have you ever seen War Greymon? He's insane! He uses a fire spirit bomb. That's dope. Pepper breath? Dude, come on, Agumon is a legend. Digimon are the champions. Number 3. I have always been a fan of Star Wars. Whether it be the movies, the shows, the books, sometimes, the comics, the video games, I've seen it all. And there is plenty, sometimes, good stuff to be found in every avenue of Star Wars, sometimes, especially in the character department. There are so many beloved characters from the franchise, spanning so many different stories, from the big screen to the pages. And the Star Wars character I like the most, can you guess based on the previous entries on this list? If a certain double lightsaber wielding Sith Lord came to mind, then you'd be turbo correct. Darth Maul is the embodiment of being the coolest guy in the room. I pretty much love any Star Wars story he's a part of. I'm a big fan of how after The Phantom Menace he takes this sort of anti-hero role, and especially love the Darth Maul comic miniseries from 2017. Love it so much I'm tempted to buy another copy of the trade paperback just because. I own almost all the Darth Maul centered comics, except like one random Star Wars The Clone Wars tie-in comic. That one is very difficult to find, but I'll get it one day. I've watched The Phantom Menace just for the ending fight a large amount of times. Like, I played Duel of Fates a few times during band in high school for many different performances and junk. I was a percussionist, and I hit that bass drum with the strength of 1,000 men. Imagine being the guy that plays the bass drum during Duel of the Fates. I was swagged out of my gourd. No one man should have all that power. Just like, wham! Whenever the music builds up, it was therapeutic. I couldn't help but have the largest grin on my face when playing that song, and it was great. Even thinking about it now, whenever I played that song, I looked like the Grinch when he stole Christmas. Speaking of the Grinch, number 2. No, it's not the Grinch. That would be so unbelievably stupid. Although it would be kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it. No. This spot goes to a Paper Mario character that took a spot in my heart. If you watch the TTYD Gator inspection, you might have a good idea of who it may be, and it would of course be the Shadow Siren, Vivian. I've already gone into detail about why I love Vivian in that Gator inspection, but Vivian really is such a great character in a great game, and deserves this number 2 spot. I mean, did you see Vivian's hat? Wow. The little swoopy hair bit? Wow. But Vivian only occupies my number 2 spot. Who sits on the throne at number 1? It may shock you. So, without further ado, number 1. One of my favorite manga of all time is Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo. So you might be wondering, oh, is it Kaneda? He's pretty cool. Or is it Tetsuo? He's also great. Maybe even Kie. I think that's how her name is pronounced. She's also great, but no. My favorite Akira character, who just so happens to be my favorite character in general, is none other than Colonel Shikishima. If War Greymon is an absolute unit, Shikishima is the war. If you've only seen the movie, you would not know of his greatness, but in the manga, the Colonel has such a great but subtle character arc that had one of the best payoffs in any story I've ever witnessed. I will not spoil a single thing here, because the Akira manga is great, but whenever the Colonel would show up, you know things were getting real. I really wish I had more I could say about him here, but in an attempt to do the opposite of spoil, I shall refrain from fangirling too much. If you only ever read one manga, or a comic, or whatever, I would suggest Akira. If you gotta spare $120 at some point and feel like reading a masterpiece, Akira is the way to go. Or you could always just, Google, but I think Akira is good enough to pay for. I'm even tempted all the time to buy a different version of it that I don't already own, but I haven't. Yet. Although, update lol, after, a little while after writing this script, I did in fact purchase the first 2 volumes of the Dark Horse run that has been out of print for a long time. I just happened to see it in a store, and I might as well pick it up while I'm here. You don't get the opportunity to buy the Dark Horse version of Akira any day. You feel me? Anyways, the Colonel is an amazing character that I would even consider to be my favorite. I would even go as far to say he's the coolest.